right? And you have a day left. Remember, I think I said yesterday, chat. I spoke about the monthly on gold here, and I mentioned how like it's gonna be very key how like the monthly decides to close this month, because it's gonna determine what's gonna happen next month, obviously, right? So with the monthly closing of the day here, it's starting to look like you are gonna be closing respecting the support here. The support here at the 1911, 1909 marks. So that's a level it looks like you are going to respect. Obviously there's your resistance up here. This is just the range you're in right now, right? You're in this range from 2000 to what area is that? 2000 to 1910, 1909, right? So if you don't close below today, it depends on how the day the next month kind of opens up, because if you close below today, obviously you're breaking below support. No top wick, but high chance it could create a top before coming down next month. This should be next month's candle. Now if you close like this though, the way we are, which I don't think we are, because today is gonna be a very volatile day, but depending on how we close today, either below or just like even bullish doji, if you close like this, then you could still come down next month, because you did close bearish at resistance, right? You have this range to fill and the wick fill to fill, which will lead you to, I'll say 1880 levels, right? Which is this support right around here, 1880 levels. Now if that were to break, right, any given point, you can still rip down with the after breaking the lows, because it's just breaking out lows. But the wick fill is ideal, right? Because like if you close like this, you have a wick to fill, you fill the wick, every time price fills a wick, there's also opportunity that you could just again break through that wick and continue to fly down past the next support, taking you down towards here, right? So that's still a possibility. Now if you close bullish though, different story, because if you close bullish today, then it means that you may be stuck in this range for quite some time. By quite some time, I mean next month, because if you close bullish like this, you really didn't do much. You just close bullish again back into the range, right? So since you're in the range, anything can happen next month. You can again range for a bit or eventually break out, but I mean I don't want it to close bullish, right? It'll be kind of tough for next month. But yeah, with the day left and folders today, it's gonna be interesting how we close today and tomorrow. The monthly time frame overall, you're looking like, so this, or my bad, not the monthly, the weekly, we're halfway into the week, right? So it's a Wednesday right now, and it looks like that resistance that we drew yesterday, I mean, still being respected in terms of like we never closed above yet, right? We don't close till Friday, so at any given point this weekly kind of could flip bearish. Now you have no bottom wick still, right? You have no bottom wick, and also you close respecting 1920. You never close above. If you were to close above, then sure, this week I'll be obviously bullish towards the next resistance, right, which takes you up towards here at the 1960. But for us to tap 1960, there needs to be liquidity being grabbed, and I don't know if that's enough liquidity. There's a possibility you could have come down again to flip bearish to create a bottom wick and then close above for next week to drive up towards 1960. But then again, today's news just drive price up towards 1960 as well. So it's gonna be interesting how today plays out, or how the news plays out. I think we'll have a bunch of better direction of the weekly candle once news plays out today. But overall, like we're still below this resistance here. Any given point, you can literally just flip bearish, right? And as you flip bearish, this is what may happen, right? And if you close bearish for the weekly, the next week's candle would likely drive down as well with the monthly, right? But again, pretty volatile day today, tons of shit going on. You have two folders that will obviously affect price today, but for the most part, yeah, looking left, like if we are truly bullish this week, then looking left, you should come up and tap 1945. That's just your next resistance, 44, 45, right? And then you have 1962 afterwards. The daily today closed bullish here, but was it this? Where did I see the daily on? I think it was that. Yeah, the daily this week, chat, closed bullish. However, closed bullish. I'll say for the most part, respecting this resistance level, like right around there, or even here at 1943. You never close above, right? You close below. Also, yeah, you barely have a top wick as well. I'm not too sure how MT5 looks. I think it has no top wick as well, or has a low top wick. Yeah, no. Like there's barely a top wick here, so the ranges that will go up is a lot I'll say in terms of probability, it's a lot lower than if we were to have a steeper wick to fill, right? If we left the wick yesterday, then today's candle will likely push up towards 1943 and continue to drive. The thing about today's candle is that it has no top wick. So any given point, you could come up, tap 1943, and start to flip bearish, right? Because again, no top wick. Just because you might have no top wick, you may still drive, but will you continue to drive is the question. That's what happens when you have no top wick, right? Because no top wick means you have no range, right? So if you were, for instance, like for those who are confused about this concept, if you were to have a candle that looks like this, right? This, if you were to break it down within 4 candles, it's gonna look somewhat like this. All right, 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry for those who have seen this drawn 1,000 times, but you know, it's just a great way to explain it. And then you have a bearish candle like this to create that wick, right? Right, very key. Understand that this bearish candle must form. My bad. This bearish candle must form in order for price to create that wick, right? So now you have a high up here, you have a low down here, you have a buy closure here, right? So this is what makes that, again, this wick for you. So what is this form now? This is now called a range, right? Because there's a resistance form here, there's a support form here, and then when price fills the wick, right, like this on the higher time frame, right, you'll see the small time frame start to print like this, right? So it's printing support at in the range to continue driving up to retest the highs. That's what happens when you have a wick fill, right? But when you don't have a wick fill, what happens, right? Because if this bearish candle is what makes you a range, and the higher time frame candle has no top wick, and instead of it looking like this, right, it now looks like this. What does that mean? It means there's no range. No range equals lower probability of us driving up versus having a wick to fill and then obviously continuing with that momentum, right? So there's no wick today on the daily. So price could still pop up, but any given point, you know what can happen? So like this, for instance, this can happen. So this is the candle today, right? You drop down to the small time frame. How it's gonna look is gonna look something like this. Right? That's how it looks on a small time frame. Let me actually just redraw this. Need to make sure it's on par. All right, that's kind of how it's gonna look now. So this was this, right? But now this is that, right? And there's no top wick. You see how there's no top wick? Now what you have here is you have a resistance, and then you have your support. This is the overall range. The whole candle is a range now, basically on a daily. So if you were to pop up, since you have no top wick, you could pop up still, right? Like the daily is gonna push here towards probably 43 here first, but it may not stay up, right? So any given point on a small time frame, what's gonna happen is it's obviously gonna pop up. All of a sudden, you might see a fake up back into the range or something, or you might see something like this form, right? You might see you close bearish, leaving a steep wick. That might be the higher time frame, right? But that's what's happening here on the daily, right? No top wick, no range. Any given point, that could be like a range one faker or something on a small time frame. On like the 4 hour, 1 hour, you might see this form later on, right? And as this forms, it can usually clear out the last couple candles here. So if you were to drop down to the 4 hour time frame now, I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Go down to the 4, we're being in a range, right? Couple things to look out for. Liquidity, where is it being grabbed at? Nowhere. Looking left, where could that be grabbed at? Draw support down here, probably 1932, 1930 levels, right? 1930 should be tapped before it decides on where it wants to go next, especially if you're going to drive up for the weekly and the monthly towards again 19. What's your next target? Next target is going to be 1966, right? Next target destination today could be 1943. I'm talking about overall. If you were to continue to drive with this bullish trend here that you have and mirror these prices like right here, right? If that were to be mirrored, it needs to be mirroring the same levels as well. So it needs to grab liquidity at the same levels as well. And you haven't grabbed liquidity yet. Again, at 1912, 1910, right? Those levels weren't grabbed yet. So that's what I'm kind of expecting here before price continues to drive up towards 1960. You could drive towards 1943, no problem today. but 1960 might be a stretch until again you tap, you create some type of liquidity on the smaller time frame. So that's the daily, right? So if you guys look at the 4 hour time frame, again, there's no liquidity being grabbed, right? It's been in the range for the past I think 12 hours or something since yesterday, right? Or the last 10 hours. So you haven't closed above the range just yet. You have about an hour and 11 minutes. Within that hour and 11 minutes, you have news today. You have news at 8:15. You have news at 8:30. Things to look out for: this resistance right here, never close above. Also, your most recent support is where? Most recent support is going to be 1931. So in terms of looking for levels to in terms of looking at levels and ranges here, that's the range you're in right now. And since you didn't close above 1938 yet, at least any given point, you can easily just pull back and close bearish on this candle and do something like this, right? Once price does that and taps 1931, okay, cool. If price now were to close above 1938, it has a very high chance to continue driving up towards 1943, 1960, right? But in order for it to drop towards 1960, again, it's gotta tap 1931. But yeah, like again, based off the daily, it could tap 43, and at any given point flip bearish. So I'm looking for selves at around 43ish levels off of that fact. Dropping down to the small time frame. Let's find some more data here. Looking at the 1 hour, you're gonna close up in about 10 minutes here for news. The 30 obviously is closing above the range as well. But my only issue and concern today is that where's the liquidity being grabbed at before we continue to drive up, right? We're obviously bullish today, but it's like, where's liquidity being grabbed at before you continue to drive towards your next resistance levels, right? Even like in this case, same thing happened here. You came down to at least like 1934 or 1932 before continuing to drive up, right? Same mirror you had there after you had the same bullish push here. So I'm expecting the same thing to occur today, right? Like you guys see the same similar mirror here on price. You're looking at, like, for instance, you're looking at this, right? This same push, right? But what happened after you pushed? You pull back, right? You pull back to what? 1931, right? Same mirror you had there. 1931 got mirrored over here to the left, right? Same mirror should happen here. And then once you retest the highs, you continue to drive, right? So first at one point, price retested the highs, then drive, came down, retested 31, grabbed liquidity, and then continue to drive afterwards, right? So I'm expecting the same thing to occur over the next couple of days. If we could pull back today, that'd be great for tomorrow and Friday, because tomorrow and Friday we just take buys going up towards 1960. But today might be a little rough because we don't have that liquidity being grabbed yet, right? So that's what I'm looking for here. I want to see if we can tap 43, because at 43, I want to see if we can get some sells. Or worst case, we come down, tap 31. We look for buys at 31 instead to retest the highs at 39. But those are like your two overall levels there that you're kind of looking at here, okay? Yeah, let me just readjust my levels here. Yeah, so the 4th is pretty crucial today, I'll say, for the most part, in terms of using it to your advantage. Because the 4 hour structure is pretty clean, pretty easy to understand today, right? 4 hour structure plus the 1 hour structure, or no, my bad, the daily structure, daily no top wick, right? Those things matter. Those are your key time frames today. But yeah, these are my ranges for now, chat. Got 1940, 30, 31, and then 43. Two options today. Again, if we can come down first, right? If we can come down, not will, it will not, you know, it might, like, if, like, I don't know what's gonna happen today, but if it comes down today, right, then perfect. We can look for buys from like 31 or something instead, right? Because then you're kind of expecting like something like this to form, right? Then sure, that's when you continue to drive up, right? But that's after you grab liquidity. If this forms first though, and you have like no ranges being tapped in onto these areas like yet, right? And you're just continuing to push up here, then you look for sells at 1943, 1942, If the price were to pop up here, again, no, barely a bond wick on barely a top wick on a daily. If you were to reject on a daily, it would be at the next daily resistance, which is 43. Therefore, you might see something like this form. And then you break back into the range, right? And then you have like some type of ranges here being formed for a couple of hours. And then you may continue to push down. Again, tap 43 and then or 31. And then once it taps 31, you have structure now, right? You have this resistance formed here. You have this support formed. You have a minor resistance here, or you can count this as one range. And sure, once you close back above the range, right? That's when you'll likely see buys happening again to retest the highs. And that will make sense to be tomorrow or Friday. But that's what I'm expecting today. So that's where I'm looking for sells and buys at today, chat. All right, chat. Pretty straightforward day. Both directions sets us up for runners, to be honest. It's just which one will come today is the question, right? You have news. So our trades will likely be today at like 8:35, 8:40 to be honest today. Right before the 9 a.m. candle. Might be a bit earlier than yesterday. But that's what I got going on today. All right, chat. Pretty straightforward day, man. Pretty straightforward day. Oh man, it's been a chill 24 hours, chat. I'll say for the most part. We didn't do much after. We were caught like yesterday. We attempted runners, but it just didn't move. We caught like 11 pips yesterday. We caught pineapples. We had one entry, which went 17 in profit initially, but it was still earlier into the day, so we held that. Came up to tap 938. So we re-entered the entry at 38 again for a sniper entry. And then that one didn't run as well. So by the time we started to reject and close no bottom wick, we closed off. And then I said in the channel, like, oh, expect us to tap to retest the highs. And that's what I did afterwards. And then I said, expect it to range here until it taps 39. And it didn't tap 39 until this morning. So I'm like, okay, well, let's delete the sell limit and wait for news to play out, because you may see 43 get tapped instead of 39 before continuing to drive. If it 39 would have been ideal level for yesterday Asian session, but it never happened during Asian, so it's likely going to be 43 today or 44. You're going to tap first. But yeah, this is 11 pips. That's nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. It could be 39, or it could be like, it could be 41. I prefer 39. Oh, my bad, 44. Not 39. It could be 44, it could be 41. I prefer 41, but obviously the steeper it is, the better it would be for our stops.